It's time for another comic history lesson, kiddies. Way back in January of 2005, Mike Carey and Leonardo Manco combined their talents and created an essential graphic novel for every Hellblazer fan called All His Engines. All things considered, it's one of the best standalone stories, and is usually what I recommend to anyone if they're looking to get into Hellblazer. I'm not surprised the TV show chose to adapt All His Engines for the TV show. There's been some changes, of course, but the core story remains intact. On to the review. A gravelly voiced hooded figure chants, and unless he's smoking 5 cigars at once, summons some kind of smoke that disappears. Meanwhile, a young girl plays with her dolls. Quite late at night for her to do so, but then guess she's doing it just before bed? Anyway, the smoke surrounds the girl, and she drops to the floor. John has finally had enough of Zed's mysterious persona, and pushes her to reveal what's been pursuing her. She's in the crosshairs of a delusional cult, as John puts it, once she explains. Typical Constantine believes he can protect her from the Resurrection Crusade, but Zed is less than confident in his claim. Further awkwardness is avoided, as John's got trouble. Yes, he's got trouble right down on the mystical map. Trouble that starts with C and rhymes with... Sorry about that. It's in Brooklyn, New York, which is where Chaz is going to spend time with his daughter. Don't Fear the Reaper plays on his radio, and it's a nice little touch of irony there. Chaz lets John do a bit of drunken spellcasting, and he wanders off with a woman certain to score. You know, after all the crap Chaz has probably seen at John's side, he should know better than to let John mix drinking and magic. Too late now, though. Chaz stays behind to listen to the band, and that's where things go pear-shaped. Through a special effects snafu, a fire starts and chaos erupts inside the club as everyone runs to save themselves. Except Chaz, who rescues someone before collapsing himself. Stand-up guy, that Chaz. Back in present day, Chaz visits Renee, and it's clear the couple aren't doing well. They're separated and have shared custody of their daughter. Yep, that would be the one who got attacked by smoke in the opening scene. Zed and John arrive at the hospital where a rash of people have fallen into mysterious comas, not just Geraldine. A bit of mystical diagnosis shows the girl is alive, but her soul is missing. If this were supernatural, Geraldine would be out doing morally questionable things. John promises he'll solve the problem, though. On the way out, John runs into Renee, and she's not happy to see him. She wants John as far away from her daughter as he can be. No warm, fuzzy feelings there. Back in the past, Chaz wakes up in the hospital and is shocked to find himself alive. More on that later, as John and King visit the medium John said he would visit a couple scenes ago. He does a bit of shopping/stealing, then confronts Finnell, who immediately pulls out a gun. John has that effect on a lot of people, I notice. Chaz gets straight down to business, breaking Finnell's nose and forcing him at gunpoint to help. Finnell gets everything set up, and after touching the doll, channels Geraldine. It goes well until something else forces its way into Finnell, and some posturing later, Finnell bursts into flames. Well, Finnell, we hardly knew thee. John confirms another mage hijacked the seance and uses Zed's power to confirm their location. The rogue mage doesn't bother to hide himself. It's Felix Faust, who has something of a chip on his shoulder and is eager to show off his shiny new powers. Why that involves stealing who knows how many souls is beyond me. John, backed into a corner, agrees to work with Faust, taking out a demon that's intruding on his domain. Chaz doesn't understand why John doesn't just kill Faust and is told off because his emotions are getting in the way. Silly things, aren't they? John's got a plan, but it involves playing along until he can find a chink in Faust's armor. Chad leaves in a huff to go back to Renee and Geraldine. Nostalgia kicks in, and Chaz talks to John about why he was spared in the nightclub fire. Turns out John's slipshod mumbling actually did take form as a protection spell. One that allowed Chaz to absorb the lives of those who perished around him. He's like a cat whose 9 lives have been taken to the max. This neatly explains how he's been able to come back from the dead so many times thus far. Zed and John work on taking out the demon Faust wants to banish to hell. Zed plays the bait, and the creature is taken out quickly. Almost too quickly, if you ask me. If it was such a threat to Faust, why couldn't he kill it from a distance? Chaz is called back into the investigation, but Renee needs to bitch about John first. I completely understand where she's coming from, yet it's something she can't do anything about. Letting others take care of it would be the wisest course. Faust's not too happy about the result, as he wanted the demon banished, not killed. Why the complaint? It's gone, dude. Chaz finally has had enough from John and renders him unconscious. That's gratitude for you. In the past, Chaz misses his daughter's birthday party. He was out with John wrangling with a Monkey King. I'd have loved to have seen that. Renee doesn't care and just wants Chaz back as a husband and father. Present time, Chaz talks to Faust, offering his extra souls as payment for Geraldine's. He demonstrates his resurrection ability by slashing his throat. If you've got a limited number of lives to play with, why waste one like that, especially given what happens in the episode's finale? In the hospital, Zed attempts to channel Geraldine's spirit for Renee. I say attempt, because it only succeeds a few seconds, before Zed is screaming on the floor, clutching her head. Chaz reveals the plan as he binds Faust and himself together, and then blows himself up using a grenade. That's one way to get rid of the troublesome mage. John and Renee bond a bit while they wait for Chaz to return. It's John's turn to flash back now. He's tried to undo the protection spell numerous times, but has been unsuccessful. He's willing to let Chaz do whatever he thinks is right, whether that be devote himself to his family or assist John in the investigation. Man, TV John is reasonable and so understanding. Renee is happy to see Chaz back in the land of the living, and Chaz spends time with his daughter, introducing some of the people he carries around inside him in a rather bittersweet scene. I wonder if he knows all the souls internally, or just did really good research on each one inside of him. Speaking of sweet, John is at Zed's bedside when she wakes up. She tells John that his mother doesn't blame him for her death, and John is a bit stunned. He lays down beside Zed on the bed, contemplative. Considering he got in magic to talk to his mother, I'd say goal accomplished, even if he wasn't the one to communicate with her. First off, this is Chaz's show. John and Zed may be in it, but Chaz is the focus, and unlike previous episode, he saves the day. The mystery behind his resurrection ability is explained, and it actually makes sense. I expected the reason to be some random crap, but I actually really like it. Why wouldn't a drunken spell curse him with limited immortality? The fact that fire broke out directly afterwards is a bit suspect. Was that the cause for the spell to be successful? It's never defined, but it's clear Chaz makes the best of his situation. His previous recklessness in past episodes takes on new meaning, and even though his marriage has fallen apart, Chaz really does care about his family. So, changes from the original comic story. First off, isn't Chaz's daughter that has her soul taken, but his granddaughter's Trisha. Felix Faust makes no appearance, and it's actually a demon and Aztec death god responsible for the mystical comas. I'm not going to try to pronounce that death god's name. Take a look and see if you can get your tongue around it. Chaz is still married to Renee. The whole plot takes place in Los Angeles, and Chaz gets a love interest during the story. John saves Trisha and does very little consulting with Chaz as to how. Typical John Constantine, though. So far as I'm concerned, the episode improves upon a few things in the comic. Renee isn't just a one-dimensional character, and actually talks things out with John instead of being angry all the time and avoiding him. The increased emphasis on Chaz makes sense since it is his family in trouble, and he should be given a large role accordingly. What doesn't quite work for me is the low priority given to Zed's backstory. She literally gets a few lines before the subject is done and over with. What was the point of all the foreshadowing if the show didn't want to spend that much time on Zed's confession? I think they'll probably expand on it in further episodes, but honestly, they should have just saved it for later. I've only read about Felix Faust in Justice League Dark, and his part was pretty small in this episode, so yeah, I'm not that familiar with the character. I don't know if he's done justice or not. So far as I understand it, he was someone who played a supporting role for so long, when he finally got a piece of real power, he went mad. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. The interspersed past and present parts are brilliant, and I love the bromance moments between Chaz and John. Their dialogue is written extremely well. Bravo all around, and another great adaptation of a Hellblazer story. 5 out of 5.